Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture number 15 of this NPTEL lecture series on charging infrastructure, and today we will be talking about DC charging, how it takes place, particularly for the case of CCS2 charging system, which is again a combined charging system with type 2 AC connector. So we will discuss in detail about this DC charging system, particularly related to DC CCS2. If we do the recap, we did the AC type 2 charging, we understood what are the communication which is taking place. It is happening through PWM of 1 kilohertz frequency cycle, and we have also seen different charging sequence which goes from A to B1 to B2, then goes to C2. If the PWM is deactivated, then it will be in C1. Then in case if there is a ventilation is required in the EV, so you have the state D, and after that, when it is returning to turn off, it goes from C2 to again to B2, then B1, then A. This is the different states of charging, and we have seen that in this, the first thing what the charger does whenever it gets plugged into the EV using its PP pin, it detects whether the connector which gets plugged into the EV is correct or not. So it's the EV which first recognizes whether the plug which is been plugged into the vehicle inlet connector is correct or not. Now that is through the R6 resistance, because for different values, for different current ratings, and for AC or DC, this resistance value will be differ, and because of this resistance value, the voltage which will be coming at this point, or you can say at the PP pin which goes into the in point of the vehicle controller with respect to P, will be changing, that voltage will be different, and depending upon the value of that voltage, the vehicle identifies or able to recognize that this particular connector can able to sustain this much amount of current. So that is the way by which vehicle understand, and once that recognition is done, the vehicle, the connector gets logged into the vehicle, and then over the CP line, which is on this line, your communication takes place via PWM signal, where the EVSC changes the duty ratio of the PWM. This PWM goes from plus 12 volt to minus 12 volt. The EVSC will change the duty ratio, which indicates what is the maximum current which can be drawn from the EVSC at that particular instant of time. However, is the vehicle which changes the voltage level of the PWM, and that is when it will tell to the EVSC that whether it is ready or not ready. So this type of communication is low level communication, where not much information is being shared between the vehicle and EVSC. Only it is the maximum current which the EVSC can sustain, and what is the status, or you can say what is the charging status, that means whether the EV is ready or not, or whether the EVSC is ready or not, that communication only will be sent. It is primarily because while doing the AC charging, the power conversion takes place inside the vehicle. That means depending upon the battery conditions, the BMS can define the power conversion unit controller inside the EV, that this much voltage and current has to be made available at the output of the power conversion unit. So that information need not to be sent to EVSC, and thus EVSC has to just send what is the maximum current which can be drawn at that particular instant of time, and at the same time the status, whether the EV as well as EVSC are ready or not, that has to be exchanged between the EVSC and vehicle. So that is what is all about the low level communication. So if we see, there are different states. We have state A, where VDC voltage, which is the positive voltage level of the PWM, which is being sensed inside the EVSC, is actually 12 volt, and it indicates the EV is not connected to EVSC, and the resistance between CP and PE pin will not be defined, because since they are not connected, and at this point my S1 switch is connected to the constant plus 12 volt. Then when the charger gets plugged into the EV, the voltage which will be measured by the EV will goes to 9 volt. However, the S1 switch is still connected to the fixed 12 volt. The PWM is deactivated, and since the PWM is deactivated, it indicates that EVSC is not ready, and since it is 9 volt, it indicates that EV is connected, and since it is 9 volt, the EV is also not ready for energy transfer. So neither EV or EVSC is ready for energy transfer. At that point, the resistance between CP and PE pin is nothing but equal to 2740 ohm, and during this time the VDC voltage is kept at plus 9 volt. Then once you plug the charger plug into the vehicle, the charging will go into the state B1. From there it goes to state B2, where the positive voltage level of the PWM is not changed, it is still at 9 volt, and that means the PWM is going between plus 9 volt and minus 12 volt. However, the S1 switch in the EVSE will now be connected to oscillator. Since it is now being connected to oscillator, the PWM is activated between the CP and PE pin, and that indicates that EVSE is ready. And since there is 9 volt and the EV does not changes its S2 switch position, that indicates that the EV is not ready for charging, and switch S2 still not connected to R2 resistance. And during that time, the resistance between CP and PE pin was 2740 ohm. Then after the B2 state, when the EVSE is ready, then the EV will change the S2 switch position and connect that R2 in parallel to the 2740 ohm resistance, which will give the resistance between CP and PE pin to be 882 ohm. And since it is 882 ohm, the VDC voltage which is coming over there will now be just 6 volt, and the S2 switch is actually is on and connected to R2. Again, in state C there are two states, C1 and C2. There could be possibility that PWM is deactivated because of some problem in EVSE. So, if the PWM is deactivated, it indicates EVSE is not ready. But however, since the VDC voltage is 6 volt, it indicates that EV is ready for energy transfer. Then in case if the EVSE does not have any problem, from state B2 it will directly go into state C2. In state C2 the same thing, S1 is connected to the oscillator, PWM is activated, S2 is on and connected to R2, that indicates the EV is also ready, and since the PWM is activated, EVSE is also ready. And the PWM is having the positive voltage level of plus 6 volt and negative voltage level of minus 12 volt, and the resistance between CP and PE is nothing but 882 ohm. It is because the 2740 ohm resistance comes in parallel to that of your 1.3 kilo ohm resistance. So, because of that our resistance between CP and PE pin will be 882 ohm. Then after that, let us say if the battery pack in the vehicle require ventilation. So, during that time what happens is that the vehicle changes the R2 value which was at 1.3 kilo ohm, it changes that value to 270 ohm, and that is when the 270 ohm comes in parallel to that of 2740 ohm, and that will give the resistance between CP and PE to be 246 ohm. And since it is 246 ohm, the positive voltage level of the PWM will be plus 3 volt and negative voltage will still be at minus 12 volt. So, during this time what happens is that since the PWM is activated, EVSE is ready. Since we have VDC equal to 3 volt, it also indicates that the EV is ready, but EV requires ventilation. Then in case if there is some fault, there could be some fault, could be short circuit fault between CP and PE line, could be some communication fault. Because of that the VDC voltage goes to 0, and at that point since the VDC voltage goes to 0, the PWM will be 0, and that indicates that there is a fault, and the EVSE will stop operational, and also the EV will stop accepting the energy. Then there could be another possibility where VDC goes to minus 12 volt. This is again an error condition. It could also be possible that EVSE is not available, and at that point the voltage level is maintained at minus 12 volt. So, if we look very carefully, the waveform we goes from A state to B state, from B state to C state, it could be either in D state, and from D state it goes to B state and then again move to A state. We have seen here the negative voltage will still be minus 12 volt because of diode which is present in the CP line, which actually does not allow the negative voltage, because during that time it actually gets reversed bias. So, the negative voltage will not change, however the positive voltage will change, because in the during that time the diode D1 gets forward bias, and as a result of which different resistances will come into picture, and because of the resistor divider circuit the positive voltage level at the CP line will be different. Now in this, if you look very carefully, there is some duty ratio. The duty ratio indicates that the maximum current which has to be drawn by the vehicle, and that is according to IEC 61851 standard. Here we know that when it is the duty ratio is between 0 to 3 volt, the charging is not allowed. Whenever it is between 3 to 7 volt, it indicates that it is a DC charging, and during that time you require the communication which supports the DC charging, which is nothing but called as the high level communication, which we will discuss as we go along. And then you have a duty ratio between 7 to 8%, which indicates that the EVSE is not ready to actually allow any current to be drawn from it. So that is why that is there. Between 8 to 10% duty ratio, only 6 amperes maximum current is allowed by the vehicle to be drawn from the EVSE, and then the vehicle BMS will decide how much current to be actually drawn within the limit of the maximum current which can be allowed by the EVSE. Then between 10 to 85% is 0.6 times duty ratio. Between 85 to 96 it is D minus 64 into 2.5. Between 96 to 97% duty ratio it is 80 ampere, and between 97 to 100 it is not allowed. So the maximum current which can be drawn by the vehicle as per the IEC 61851, it is nothing but the 80 ampere which can be drawn whenever the duty ratio of the PWM is between 96 and 97%, and only the EVSE controller can able to change the duty ratio of the PWM. So if we see how our maximum charging current with respect to duty ratio, if we see that with respect to duty ratio, and this is the maximum current, let us define in ampere. So we will see that whenever it is between, let us say it is 3, from starting from 0, again it is in percentage, so it goes from 0 to 100%. So at 3, then we have at 7, then we have another point as 8, then we have another point as 10, then we have at 85, and after 85 we have 96, 97 and 100. So when it is 0 to 3, we can say that charging not allowed. During that time charging not allowed. Between 3 to 7%, we can just say that between 3 to 7% is nothing but it is the zone for DC charging. So whenever the charger goes for DC charging at the CP, the PWM will be having the duty ratio of pulse width modulation between 3 to 7%. After that, from 7 to 8%, again it is not allowed, charging not allowed. And after 8 to 10, if you look very carefully, it is just the 6 ampere. So it is just the 6 ampere. If we do that, it is 6 ampere. From 10 to 85, it is just the rising, linearly rising. Is linearly rising, reaches to this point, and this point is nothing but equal to, if we just put this one, nothing but equal to 52 ampere. And then from here to there is between 85 to 96, it is nothing but D minus 64 into 2.5. So there you will have some dark zone which is or some non-operational zone which start from 52.5, and then again it goes linearly, and beyond this point till it reaches to 80. This is the 80 ampere. So which after this it becomes settled down. Okay, this is 52 ampere, this is 52.5, and this is 80, and after this from between 96 to 97 it is 80 ampere which can be allowed, and between 97 to this one you can say that it is not allowed, no charging is been allowed. Sorry, it is 51. So this is with respect to duty ratio our maximum current will look like. If for better understanding we can draw it using this one. It is 6 ampere, then it goes up to 51, then for 52.5 it goes up to 80, and then it settles down at 80. So this, depending upon the duty ratio, the EVSE will tell the EV that this is the maximum current I can allow, and that is when the vehicle BMS will decide what should be the current within that maximum current limit we should demand from the EVSE. So, similarly, if we see here, the current which is being demanded over here must be less than the maximum current which is allowed by the vehicle to be drawn from the EVSE. That information is sent by the duty ratio of the PWM signal which is at the CP line, and this frequency cycle of this is nothing but 1 kilohertz, or you can say the time period of that PWM cycle will be 1 by 1000 hertz, which is nothing but 1 millisecond. So, this is how the charging of the AC charging system takes place. Now, let us see how the charging with the DC charging system takes place. Now, if you recall our previous discussion about the DC charging system, what are the building blocks of DC charging system, what we realize is in the DC VSC we have the controller, we have the power conversion unit, and it is directly the DC which actually gets plugged into the vehicle. And since the DC is plugged into the vehicle through the protective devices, it is going into the directly EV battery. So, there is no power conversion which is taking place inside the vehicle. All the power conversion is taking place outside the electric vehicle. That is why a lot of information of related to battery status, related to temperature, current, SOC level, voltage level of the battery has to be shared by the BMS to the controller, or you can say the supply equipment communication controller, SECC, and on this side you have vehicle controller. So, the BMS has to communicate a lot of series of information need to be shared, and at different instance of time between the BMS and the controller. That is why you require a dedicated communication channel and you require a high level communication, and that is taking place in case of CCS2, that is taking place using the PLC based dedicated communication channel using the 7 OSI layers, which is open system interconnection layers. So, in this case these particular things are there. Now, if you look very carefully in this thing, we have drawn the controller. However, this controller is not that straightforward. Generally what we have is, in this case controller, what we have is this particular DC VSC, what we have is we have one controller which is actually communicating. Again I am drawing for CCS2 charging, which is actually using the PLC modem. It is actually connected to the BMS of the, it is going into the BMS. So, what happens is that on the vehicle side also you have PLC modem, and on the charger side also, or EVSC side also, you have PLC modem. So, these two will be communicating using the power line communication over the CP line. Now, this controller will be communicating with PLC. That communication could be using SPI, or in other cases it could be SCI, or serial communication. Generally these are the two communication which is there. Sometimes CAN can also be used, CAN communication. And this controller will be actually on the other side through the dedicated channel will be communicating with the CMS, central management system of the charging station service provider. And this controller will then be communicating with another controller, local controller, which is actually controlling the rectifier, or you can say AC to DC converter and isolated DC to DC converter, and through this controller is actually controlling the safety interlocks which will be there. These safety interlocks could be relays, contactors, could be RCD device, which is the residual current detection device. Many things could be there for protection and safety, and which will be actually you are sending control DC or control or regulated DC, you are directly feeding into the vehicle. So, this is the multi-layer controller structures one can have. However, for the CCS, in order to ensure we have the CCS2 charging system, we must have PLC at the front end, PLC modem at the front end on both the EV side as well as the EVSE side, such that the supply equipment communication controller will be sending information to PLC modem, and PLC modem will then be following certain standard, put those high frequency signals superimposed on the low frequency signal of 1 kilohertz on the CP line, and then send it to the EV side. and then on the other side using the PLC modem the information will be extracted and it will be shared with the BMS. That communication between the PLC modem on the vehicle to the BMS could be done using CAN or SPI or serial communication depending upon the speed which you wanted to achieve. So, let us see our DC charging system since we are focusing only on CCS2. So, what we have in CCS2, we have the charger plug. It is called a CCS2 because if you see the top portion of that, it is simply as that of AC type 2. However, the bottom portion will be there for DC connections. DC connections. So, whenever you are plugging in AC type 2 connector, you will be plugging in only on the top portion of the CCS2 vehicle inlet connector, but whenever you are actually plugging in the overall CCS charger plug, you will be plugging in the entire CCS2 vehicle inlet connector. Now, in that what you have is you have the the DC plus and DC minus line, DC plus and DC minus line, which is actually on the other side will be connected to DC minus and DC plus line, and you have just the CP, you have just the proximity pilot, and this is nothing but the protective earth. So, these are the terminals of the CCS2 charger plug which actually gets plugged into the vehicle inlet connector having the same form factor such that the charger plug gets plugged into the vehicle inlet connector. Now, here in case of DC charging system which is done using CCS2, will also have control pilot and proximity pilot, and as in case of AC type 2 connector we have the PWM based communication which is happening over the control pilot and protective earth. Here also we will be doing the communication between the control pilot and protective earth line. However, the duty ratio is maintained between 3 to 7%. Now, so the moment the EVSC put the duty ratio between 3 to 7%, the EV recognizes that it is nothing but it is the DC CCS2 charger which gets plugged into its vehicle inlet connector. So, it has to then enable that the high level communication, or you can say it has to then superimpose the high frequency signals over the 1 kilohertz PWM signal which is coming between the control pilot and the protective earth. So, here we are showing you the charging gun for the DC CCS2 charging system. Now, it has this standard 5-meter cable which is coming from the DC VSC. Now, if you see in this one what we have is we have in total 5 number of pins. We have control pilot at this place, we have proximity pilot at this place, we have protective earth, and along with that we have DC plus and DC minus pins which is there in the charger plug. And if you see this CP and PP are smaller in size because they are responsible for doing the communication, while DC plus and DC minus pins are thicker in size, or you can say are larger in size because it is actually carrying the current which is actually going to charge the battery, that means in the range of upwards of 100 ampere 200 amperes like that. So, that is why these DC plus and DC minus pins are thicker. Similarly, on the vehicle inlet connector for the DC CCS2 charging system, we have also discussed this in case of AC type 2. What we have is we have proximity pilot, we have control pilot, we have L1, L2, L3 neutral, protective earth, and for the DC side what we have is we have DC minus and DC plus pins. So, using this part we can do the AC type 2 charging, while when we are doing a DC charging we will be using this DC minus and this DC plus pins. So, let us see our charger plug once again. We do not have any L1, L2, L3 and neutral pins. We only have our control pilot, proximity pilot, protective earth and DC plus and DC minus pins. So, let us try to plug in this charger plug into the vehicle inlet connector. So, this charger plug will go and gets plugged in into the vehicle inlet connector like this, and once it gets plugged in, the vehicle recognizes that the charger plug gets plugged in using the proximity pilot pin, and that is when they immobilize the vehicle, and that is when the next level of communication will start. So, this is how your DC CCS2 charging system works. Especially we are showing you here the vehicle inlet connector and the charger plug for DC CCS2 charging system. So in DC CCS2 charging system, what we have is we have the PP circuit, which is same as that of the AC type 2. So which consists of R6 resistance onto the charger plug, and depending upon the value of R6 resistance, the EV will come to know what will be the charging plug which gets plugged into it, and whether the charging plug is correct charging plug or not. Now apart from PP circuit, we also have CP pin where the communication is taking place. So in case of AC type 2 charging, we know that we have 1 kilohertz PWM which is been employed over the CP and PE line, and since in the AC charging system our power conversion is taking place inside the vehicle itself, so the status of battery pack like the SOC or the voltage, current, temperature will be sent by the BMS to the local power conversion unit controller. However, in case of DC charging system, since our power conversion unit is kept outside the vehicle and we are actually plugging in directly DC into the vehicle, we need to ensure that a lot of information related to the battery like voltage, current, temperature has to be shared from the BMS to the EVSE, and that is when we require a dedicated communication channel which is happening over the CP line. So in the communication is actually, you can say, indirectly happening over the CP and PE line. It is using PLC based communication, power line based communication, where the CP signal width is kept between 3 to 7% range of 1 kilohertz PWM signal, which is nothing but looks like something like this. So this is 1 millisecond time period corresponds to 1 kilohertz, and this value T on value will be between 0.03 millisecond to 0.07 millisecond. That is when we are keeping the duty ratio between 3 to 7% range, and the moment the EVSE keep the 3 to 7% duty ratio within 3 to 7% range, it tells the EV that it is the DC charging which is been taking place, and thus EV will also understands that it is a DC charging and accordingly take required actions. Now in case of CP line, since a lot of information has to share between the vehicle and the EVSE, so we require a dedicated communication channel, and that communication is happening through the power line communication. Now that power line communication is happening over the CP line. That means the PWM pulse which is there between the CP and PE line will also have a very high frequency modulated signal which is being superimposed onto this 1 kilohertz PWM. That means you also have a lot of high frequency signal which is being superimposed over the PWM, which is going between plus 12 volt and minus 12 volt. Over the plus 12 volt and minus 12 volt, you have a very high frequency modulated signal superimposed over it, and that carries all the information, all the messages which has to be shared between EV and EVSE. Now this modulating signal, which is high frequency modulating signal which is been superimposed over the CP line between CP and PE line, since it is the high frequency signal which is been superimposed on the 1 kilohertz PWM, this is similar to that of the power line communication which takes place in the transmission system, where the high frequency signals are superimposed onto the power lines. Here we are having the high frequency modulated signal superimposed onto the 1 kilohertz PWM which is happening over the CP and PE line. Here one thing to be noted, that it is the power line communication taking place over the CP line, over the control palette line, not the DC plus and DC minus line. It is happening over the CP line. That means over the PWM which is employed over the CP and PE line to send the required information between the EV and EVSE. So when the DC charging system takes place in the communication, first the duty ratio of the PWM pulse is kept between 3 to 7%, and a high frequency modulated signal is been superimposed onto that 1 kilohertz PWM signal over the CP and PE signals, which enables the power line communication. And in the power line communication, a lot of multiplexing can be done to send a lot of information in required time. Now the required parameters, the communication methods are actually very in detail, are specified in ISO 1158 standard and DIN spec 70121 standard. Now these are the two standards which actually defines all the communication methods, all the parameters, like when information need to be sent, how the information need to be sent, what will be the message type, how the message looks like, all those information will be presented, will be detailed in this standard. So whenever someone wants to develop this particular charging system, one must read the ISO 15118 standard and DIN spec 70121 standard to implement this communication, this high level communication over the CP line. Now it is called high level communication because we are sending a lot of information, and that particular communication is actually happening using the power line communication, and the structure of communication protocols, the different protocols will be defined, will be used to define the different parameters of the communication. So that particular protocols are being structured in the form of 7-layer network model, which is also called as the OSI, 7-layer OSI model, which is nothing but called as the Open Systems Interconnection Reference Model. Just like the two computer gets connected over the internet, in the same manner the EV and EVSE system also gets connected to each other, and they will be determined by certain communication protocol which are arranged in 7 OSI layers. So we will discuss some detail of those 7 OSI layer in the subsequent lecture, but before that let us see some of the things related to the PLC power line communication. Now as we know, our IEC 61851 base communication protocol, which indicates 1 kilohertz PWM, having the required voltage levels and having the duty ratio between 3 to 7% for DC charging. So that is imposed by the IEC 61851. So the moment your duty ratio is between 3 to 7%, it indicates that it is nothing but a DC charging. Now in this case, the power line communication signal is actually modulated onto the control palette having 3 to 7% PWM signal of 1 kilohertz. Now this PLC signal which is there contains the high level protocol messages. Why it is called high level? Because it follows 7 OSI layers and having several set of messages which has to be exchanged between the EV and EVSE, because those messages has a lot of information which has to be sent at required time period or at every time between the EV and EVSE. Now this physical interface, which is using the PLC based communication, this physical interface uses home plug green PHY standard, which is one of the standard for power line communication, which is again a subset of home plug AV standards, which defines some of the features of the home plug AV standards. Some of these features is being taken and defined in home plug green PHY standard. Along with, there is something called signal level attenuation characterization. So whenever the EV gets connected to the EVSE, the first step which takes place is nothing but the signal level attenuation characterization, in order to ensure that the correct modem of the EVSE and the modem of the EV are actually gets logically connected. After the slack only, it's the home plug green PHY standard will determine the different physical aspect of the communication, like the voltage levels, like the band of frequencies, the subcarrier frequency, the how far the bands are arranged, those things will be determined by the home plug PHY standard, the physical property of the communication. However, before that the signal level attenuation characterization has to be done. So the correct digital data which is been appropriately modulated is actually be applied via PLC modem, which is been connected to the CP line. So on the CP line, on the EVSE as well as on the EV, you have the PLC modem which is being connected, and that will convert the information from the supply equipment communication controller into the PLC signals whose properties are being defined by the home plug green PHY standard. Now if we see some of the key properties of home plug green PHY standard, so home plug green PHY based PLC, it uses actually OFDM amplitude phase modulation, which is nothing but called as the orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. Again, we are not going too much in detail what is OFDM, because it is a very one of the concept which is been used in communication systems. particularly those who study electronic communication background, they must be knowing what is the OFDM, which is orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. So in this, what happens is that there are a lot of signals at different frequencies are actually being multiplexed together. So you can say that the entire band or entire frequency band, it has a wide frequency band of 2 to 28 megahertz, wide band is there. In that wide band, a lot of subcarriers are there, that means a lot of carriers with the defined frequencies are there, and those carriers are used to send information and they are multiplexed together, which forms the PLC signals. So in this, if we see there, since there are 2 to 28 megahertz wideband OFDM which is present, OFDM means all the frequencies are multiplexed using the orthogonal frequency division method, and it has total of 1155 subcarriers, with 917 of them will be used while the others are not being used. That means that many frequency bands are not being used, and each subcarrier frequency signals is generated with a 24.414 kilohertz interval. That means the subcarrier signals are separated from each other with the frequency interval of 24.414 kilohertz, and thus each subcarrier is actually modulated using the quadrature phase shift keying. So quadrature, using the quadrature phase shift keying, again it's the concept which is been very ready, which is been used in the communication system. So each subcarriers are actually getting modulated using QPSK method, and the overall, the different subcarriers are combined together will be multiplexed using OFDM method, and that signal will be actually superimposed onto the 1 kilohertz PWM. Now in home plug green 5, they also define the digital data transmission, which has to be between 4.5 to 10 Mbps. That means in 1 second maximum of 10 MB data can be shared. Then one important thing is, the peak to peak PLC signal is in the range between 0.3 volt to 1.3 volt. That means, if we see our PWM pulse, our PWM pulse will be going between 12 volt to minus 12 volt, and over this the high frequency modulated signal are superimposed. So in this, a lot of high frequency signals are being superimposed using the PLC modem. So in this way, if you see, look very carefully, this particular signal, high frequency signal, will be put over there, and if you look very carefully, the distance or the peak or the value of this and this is actually be between 0.3 volt to 1.3 volt peak to peak, and this is again 0.3 volt to 1.3 volt peak to peak. That is why, since this amplitude of this high frequency signal is very small, that is why whenever the EV is getting connected with EVSE, one must ensure the attenuation between the EV and EVSE is as minimal as possible, and for that one has to do the SLAC procedure, which is signal level attenuation characterization, before EV is actually doing the charging or converting from the state B to C1, C2, D state, different states. So we have around 1155 subcarriers, or you can say 1155 channels we have. We have 1155 channels. That means parallelly we can send 1155 informations by doing the proper multiplexing. Further, if we look very carefully, out of 1155 there are only 917 subcarriers are used. That means only 917 channels are being used. Now if you look very carefully, whenever the DC CCS2 charging plug gets connected into the EV, let us see the different charging sequence which takes place, and after that we will see how the communication is taking place. So let us see how the charging sequence takes place. Now first and foremost thing, whenever the supply station, or you can say that EVSE, electric vehicle supply equipment, or you can say supply station as well, is being is not been connected to EV, what we have is between CP and PE line, we have the voltage nothing but equal to plus 12 volt, and we are in the charging state A, and charger is not been plugged in. Here if you look very carefully, this theta is there to actually measure the temperature of the contacts which is been made between the charger plug and the vehicle inlet connector. Further, we also have the lock mechanism. Once the connector is been detected, the lock will get closed up, and that is when once the charging is taking place, no one can remove the charger plug from the vehicle inlet connector, just to ensure the proper charging which has been taking place. Now if you look very carefully, we have low level control pilot signal which is again having 1 kilohertz, and we also have a high level communication which is happening using the PLC based communication, where over the 1 kilohertz the high frequency signals are being superimposed. And then we have DC plus and DC minus line which is been connected to the vehicle. Now this is the charger plug which has been unmade during this point. Now at t equal to t0, the charger plug gets plugged into the EV. That means you can say that charger plug is mated. Now during that time, what happens is that since the charger plug gets mated, the resistance between CP and PE line will now become from the not defined value to 2740 ohm, and that is when the positive voltage level, since it is PWM is deactivated, it is connected to directly to 12 plus 12 volt. So the voltage level of the CP line will be plus 9 volt, and that indicates we have the B1 state. So the charging enters into the B1 state instantaneously whenever the charger plug gets mated in with the vehicle inlet connector. And since this has been mated, the vehicle is mobilized, and that mobilization takes place after detecting the PP, after doing the detection in the PP line. So once the PP line is there, the vehicle will now gets immobilized. That means all the motor control, all the propulsion system gets deactivated from the battery pack. So that is important, because you know the proximity pilot will determine that. The moment the PP line is detected, the vehicle detected that there is correct plug which gets plugged in via PP line, and by detecting the voltage at the PP line which is been defined by the R6 resistance. Depending upon that, if the vehicle sees it is a voltage which is within the specified limits, then the vehicle will immobilize itself. That means the propulsion system get cut off from the battery system, because vehicle now identifies that now the user is actually charging the battery pack. So that is where at the B1 state, the after detection over the PP line, the vehicle gets immobilized and the charging system enter into the B1 state. So once the vehicle is mobilized and enters into the stage B1, and then the next state is start, where it is the initialization stage which is between T0 and T1, and during this time what happens is that the S1 switch is actually connected to the oscillator, and that is when it goes into the B2 stage. And since the S1 switch is connected to the oscillator, and since it is a DC charging system, the oscillator will be having the pulse width modulation with 3 to 7% duty ratio. Since it is between 3 to 7% duty ratio, the vehicle identifies that it is the DC charging which has to be taken place, and that is when it will start setting up the high level communication using the PLC, and you know the handshaking with the exchange of charging parameter will be taking place. So it is during this point, the moment the PWM of 3 to 7% duty ratio has been imposed by the EVSE, the vehicle identify it is a DC charging system, and that is when it has to stabilize the high level communication, and that is when a lot of handshaking must be taking place using the high level communication, and that is when the PLC modems has to be activated between the vehicle and the EVSE. Now during this time, some voltage will start appearing at this place, and during this time if the voltage is greater than 60 volt at this point, if the voltage is greater than 60 volt, or is there, if there is any incompatibility with the EV and DC supply is detected, so during that time the charger will immediately do the shutdown. If the voltage at this point, because the contactors on the supply side or the contactors on the EVSE side is still open, but however because of some faulty condition, if the voltage is greater than 60 volt, or if there is any incompatibility between the EV and DC supply is detected, that is when the charging system will actually be demanding for the shutdown. There will be sudden shutdown of the charging system which takes place. And at this point the EV sends its maximum limit, maximum value of output current and voltage which the EV is expecting to have. That means, let us say if the battery is there, some 400 volt battery is there, when it is charged it will go up to 500 520 volt. So, is the maximum, that maximum limit has to be informed to the EVSE, maximum voltage and current limit which the battery can support. So, that is what that EV will send during this initialization stage itself. That is happening after the high level communication is stabilized between the PLCs of EV and EVSC, and that high level communication is stabilized once the PLC modems of the EV and EVSC gets logically connected, and that logical connection is happening using the slack operation, and that we will discuss in subsequent lectures what is a slack operation. So, here what is happening is that the high level communication PLC starts, some of the charging parameters is being exchanged between the EV and EVSC. Then the next stage comes, which takes place between T1 to T2 time instances. During this time the EV locks the vehicle connector in its inlet. So, this locking will take place. If you look very carefully, in the previous case there was no locking. Now, in this case the lock takes place. So, now the charger plug gets fully locked into the vehicle inlet connector, and after the EV sends the information to the DC VSC, the DC VSC will then respond to the EV that okay, we have got this much information of the maximum voltage and current information, and then the EV will see whether that maximum value which the DC supply is sending is correct or not. Then after that the DC supply knows that it has to check the internal insulation between the DC plus and DC minus line as long as no voltage is applied at the connector. So, that has to be done, and if the EV and DC supplies are not compatible, there could be possibility that both are not compatible to each other. Let us say the vehicle told the EVSC that the maximum voltage is, let us say 900 volt from the battery pack, and if the EVSC cannot support that, then that shows there is incompatible, and that is when the vehicle will not go into the ready state and there will be transition towards the shutdown which will taking place. So, now it reaches to the state where the vehicle locks the vehicle connector, and the maximum value of voltage which is being shared, which is being sent by the vehicle, is being responded by the DC supply, or you can say the DC VSC, that this much is the maximum voltage, and then the DC supply or the DC VSC has to do the internal insulation check before the voltages are applied at the DC plus and DC minus line. Then the cable check stage takes place. So, now both the modem of the EV and EVSC are logically connected, that means they can do the high level communication using the power line communication, and during this time what happens is that since they are logically connected, the EV will change the CP state from the state B2 to either C2, or if let us say if the ventilation is required, then state D. And that is when the EV status, since the S2 switch in the EV will change its state, so the CP state will go from B2 to C2 state, and that is when EV sends the information that EV is ready for charging or energy transfer. And the EV requests the cable and insulation check after the connector locks has been confirmed. So, now the DC VSC was actually doing the insulation check within itself, but now the vehicle requires that cable and insulation check, that you must do the insulation check of the cables or DC plus, between DC plus and DC minus line, and the DC supply then start checking the high voltage isolation, and it will continuously report that isolation state, or what is the status of that isolation, it will continuously telling to the vehicle. So, this was the case between T2 to T3 time period, and then between T3 to T4 time period the DC supply must determine that the isolation resistance of the system is above 100 kilo ohm. So, this isolation between the DC plus and DC minus must be more than 100 kilo ohm, and if this successful isolation check is done, the EC supply will change its state to valid state. That means it is also ready with the cable check response. It will also tell to the EV that the EVSC is also ready, and it has also checked its isolation between the DC plus and DC minus line. And then after the isolation is been properly checked, the vehicle modem and the EVSE modem are logically connected. The pre-charging state will then start because both are logically connected and isolation are properly met. The pre-charging will start. During the pre-charging, the contactors in the DC plus and DC minus line of the EVSE gets closed, and then once the contactors are closed and they enter into the pre-charging state, since the EV is the master, EV will send the pre-charge request to the EVSE, or you can say that to the supply station. This pre-charging supply request has both the information of the maximum current limit, it has both the information which is the maximum current limit and the required DC voltage which has to be kept at the DC plus and DC minus line. So, the EV sends the pre-charging request, contains requested DC current, which you can say initially it has the inrush current, because the voltage which is coming at this place will be different than the voltage which is coming at this place, which is V out, will be different than the voltage of the battery. So, that is when one must provide the limit on the inrush current the moment the charger plug get connected and the charger gets logically connected and the contactors get closed. So, that limit has to be kept, and that limit is kept at less than 2 ampere, and the required DC voltage which has to be kept at the DC plus and DC minus pins. So, that these are the two information which is been there in the pre-charging request which the EV sends. Now, the remaining stages we will discuss in the next lecture, where we will see how the pre-charging stage gets completed, and after pre-charging stage the charging stage takes place, and after charging stage unmating of the connectors will be taking place. Since this DC charging is at a very high power level and a lot of information has to be shared between the vehicle and the EVSE, so there are so many stages of charging and shutdown is there, which has to be understood in a much detailed manner, which is also been discussed in these lectures. So, thank you very much for patiently listening to this lecture. We will discuss the remaining portion, remaining stages in the next lecture. Thank you.